Welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen. It's really two programs in one. This is a series that appeals to your creative side. Food that is sumptuous stuff. How can that be? This is a program about people who want to eat healthy and reduce calories. Actually, it's about food with an aromatic quality that fills the nose. Oh, sure. But it's also about keeping my arteries clean by reducing fat. But it doesn't mean a thing if the food isn't rich and colorful. Maximize the flavor. Okay, but I must have healthy food that I can cook in minutes. I must minimize the risk. So welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen, where we get our heads together just for you. Hey, welcome back once again. This is a program this time about steaming the vegetable portion here and good, and steaming the fish part of it here. So we're going to look at fish in a steamed with a lid on in a low pot over a very aromatic base, and it's dead easy, you know. Oh, I know, I can hear you say, you always say it's dead easy, and this literally takes about 10 minutes to cook, and maybe 20 minutes overall. And I know that's something that you want, because I get those little comments every now and again. I don't mind the fact that you would like to cook, you know, in that sort of way. I think that's rather fun, and I do it myself a lot of times. But let's go too far with making things very quick, because if we do that, you can lose some of the delicacy and some of the caring part, you know, of cooking. All right, here I've got some yellow squash, and here I'm going to have strips of zucchini, just with the white showing and the green showing. I'm going to throw some fresh dill and parsley over the top of the halibut. I'm going to put little streaks of fresh leek underneath that, and then dust the whole thing with a little bit of paprika over the top and freshly milled pepper. They're just all filled. And it looked terrific. And at the same time, have the most wonderful aroma coming off it with the leeks and the fresh herbs that are there. Ready for this? Lovely piece of fish. It's so quick, easy. Come on. Hey, just wanted to check that this was on the boil, and it is. This is the steamer. This is stack and steaming, and I'll show you how that works in a moment, but I just want to make sure that's done. This is on the heat, and we can have a go. The first thing is the squash side of it. Now, there are two kinds of squash. There's several squash that you could use for this, but I thought I'd take the more simple to find. This zucchini, obviously. By the way, this is a tricky one. Organic. If it can be organic, and if that doesn't mean that you have to pay through the nose for it, then I think it should be organic food if possible. There's something better about the flavor. There's something potentially good about not having quite so many chemicals coming through the food chain into our individual bodies. Okay, so what I'm doing here is cutting this off and slicing it down and just halving it. Very simple process. But there's something that is a little bit more than meets the eye here, because this is called mise en place, M-E-P, mise en place. And the French say to put everything in place before you start. If you do that, it's so easy to cook. It's really easy. Now, so I've done that. Let's put those over here in the top of this unit. Now, this is a unit where you've got the bottom unit there, which is going to be filled in a moment with something else, and the top unit because it takes half the amount of time to cook. So there's no point in putting the two together and overcooking one of them. So that's the reason for the two levels. All right, so just top that in. I've got 2 of the green zucchini per person and 1 of the, you know, the yellow, so that you get, well, you understand. I'm sure you understand. All right, so this has got a little freshly ground pepper over the top. And this is a little salt, and that's freshly ground black pepper and just a tiny drop of salt. And, really importantly, half a teaspoonful of dill. This is one of those things where you could use fresh dill or dried, and if you're going to use the dried dill, the half teaspoon, fresh, about a tablespoonful, because it's a very light herb when it's fresh. Okay, that's all ready to go. So now let's go and see the next thing, which is the leek. Now, this is a leek. This is a terrific leek. Now, when I I would like to be known to be alongside this leek. How do I look? The Welsh actually wore leeks attached to their helmets. If you imagine, it would be scary, wouldn't it, if they were like this? And then they went into battle, the Battle of Poitiers. They wore them, I think, for the first time, and that was a wonderful idea. And they've worn them ever since. The Irish Guards had that as a symbol on their helmets, on their hats. Okay, now this is about the normal size of good quality leek that you would get. What you do is you always trim the end off there and then cut through at where the first fold comes. There's always a fold here. And cut through at that first fold so that the leaves stay together. Now the leaves can be used, you wash them well, and they can be used in a soup. They've got good quality, somewhere between garlic and an onion. They sort of fit in between that flavor. Good, strong flavor, actually. And then you would cut it down. Now, we may be lucky and find it here, or we may not. Oh, this is a good one. Now, when you peel the leaves back like this, you can usually find a load of grit underneath. Well, the grit you don't need in it. And we trimmed the end part off there because it's sort of so much easier to look at. I take this end bit off there because of the kind of cutting I'm going to do, and all of that goes into a soup anyway, so you're wasting nothing. Turn it this side up, all right? And then take your blade through like this, and then start cutting. Very thin slices through. Now, it doesn't, oh, look, dirt. There, we found some. So be sure it's not a good idea to have this very gritty. So, in fact, it's never a good idea. So make sure that that comes out and that you give it a good wash. All right, there, take that away. Now, if you take two of those large pieces of leek like that and then just pass the knife blade through it once more, it doesn't take long to do, really, does it? That's done, and that's ready to go. And I'm going to put those with those that I have over here. All right, now some mushrooms. Mushrooms are 12 ounces of mushroom, and they're little ones that size. And with this one, it's just standard way that we cut mushrooms, and through there like that. So they've got an attractive appearance to them, and they sort of spread out a lot more. They used to make lovely little tiny button mushrooms, the champignons, the tiny little buns. Unfortunately, they're grown larger now. I suppose it's less effort and labor, and we have to put up with it. All right, lemon. Now, lemons always roll it before you squeeze it. Roll it all over the board, well, all over the lemon, and crush it up, because a lemon can be really tight, and if you try and squeeze it then, it's amazing how much less juice you actually get out of it. This little thing works handily. Just pop that in the top, start screwing it to begin with, and then just put the top on, and it holds it, and you can press it down. So this is all, what is that called? MEP, mise en place, right? Everything being got together, potatoes. Now this is there are several potatoes you could use. Here are 3 of them, just for identification purposes. This is a russet, okay? And that's the one we're going to use. This is a white, just a straight white potato. And this is a Yukon Gold. And you can tell the difference between these two if you just have a look at the color there. See, isn't that an incredibly different color? Beta-carotene in this one, and doing very well. It's a marvelous potato, very exciting potato. And it just gives you good quality, but that's not the one I'm going to use on this occasion. All right, so it's this one. Now this is peeled and popped into some water just to hold it, to make sure that it doesn't go brown. And I put water in the water, a little lemon juice. You could put a block of coal and wash the coal. Not many people have coal anymore, but years and years and years ago, when I first started television in 1959, I looked up into the camera and I said, we could call it coal storage. And the producer thought that was hugely funny. Unfortunately, I had to do it several times until I got it right. All right, so you take a pound of those potatoes and get those out. Now we get into the bottom part of this, and this is the bit where you put in, you start getting it on the heat. Now, get a timer and go for 8 minutes on this. Now, again, freshly ground pepper over the top. And I use black. You could use white if it offends you. Well, some people are offended by what looks as if somebody's mended the roof. And so that's sea salt over the top. Lid on the top. 8 minutes to go on that one. So I just to remind myself, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now, let's build this dish here, because this is what I want to steam the fish in. And this looks terrific. This is such a neat idea. 1 teaspoonful of oil in the bottom, all right? And then take the leeks that you did, those 2 leeks, and just sprinkle those in the bottom. Doesn't that look great? Those little matchsticks. And it doesn't take long to do that. And they've got to be like that because to get the real flavor out of them. Then you take the mushrooms, again, mise en place, everything ready. Drop those onto the top. And then 1 teaspoonful of dill. All right? And sprinkle, that's dill weed again, 1 teaspoonful, sprinkle it all over the top and let that go down. A little scattering of cayenne pepper. Now, this is what we call the Creole torpedo. And about 1/8, or according to your sensitivity. I mean, if you like Creole food, you might like to put in a 1/4. If you like it even hotter than that, don't ask me, because I need a kind of towel when I'm sitting next to Trina, who loves to cook that way. All right, so this is going nicely here. So we now just sprinkle a tablespoonful of the lemon juice over the top, and the lemon and everything else is doing great. Increase the heat a little bit, put about 1/3 of a cup, about 1/3 of a cup of a Chablis or a light, dry white wine minus dealcoholized. You know that about me by now. And here we go. Just shake that up and get the halibut steaks, 6-ounce, beautiful halibut steaks. Show you what this looks like in a moment. Show you how to be able to select the best possible looking halibut, because halibut is a wonderful fish unless you get the wrong kind, and then you're in trouble. Little salt, freshly ground sea salt over the top, and freshly ground pepper as we had before. And you don't need to turn it, flip it, put the lid on the top. Everything will cook. This is cooking at the same time. Let's go across to a halibut schooner, to the real expert, and find out exactly how to select the very best possible piece of fish. Over to you, Graham. Thanks, Graham. We're aboard a halibut and black cod fishing boat, and it's a long liner where they put the lines on the side and bring them in one at a time. And this is a place where enormous trouble is taken to get the fish at the most perfect condition for you and I. So I think we need to know a bit more about it and value all the work that goes on. Dean Adams is the master here. You've been fishing since?
1972.
Since 72, and owned this boat since?
79.
Okay, with about £500,000 that come over the side.
Exactly.
Okay, now that sounds like a fishing story, but it sounds great. Okay, let's see what we've got here.
This is a beautiful little 10-pound halibut. Mm-hmm. These fish get up to 400 pounds. Actually, that's the largest I've caught. They will get up to 600 is the record, I believe. Boy. But this is a premium white fish.
Right.
You can see that we've filleted out a section here, and it's absolutely lovely. It's translucent.
So you can almost see it's like pearl-like, so you can almost as if you're seeing into it.
Exactly. That's probably the biggest key into looking for quality in halibut is the translucency. Probably any fish is.
Well, look, we went out and got from a supermarket just a couple of pieces that we didn't like the look of, just by looking at it. And explain the difference to us.
Well, here you have a section of fish that's been frozen, and I can tell that from the cracks and gaps that are in this fish that it's been frozen for quite some time,
ragged,
probably at least 6 months. Uh-huh. And also there's a fair amount of water that you can, by squeezing like slightly, it is like a sponge. Yeah. This fish would be probably what you categorize as a tough, a cardboard sort of texture. Yeah. Whereas this will have a lot of texture and a really nice flavor
Good.
to boot.
Okay, well, we promised to look for it. Let's look for it, because this guy puts in so much of his life getting this at a beautiful condition this one is now. Okay, right, Graham, look after it. Get back to it, buddy. Thanks, Dean. Well, of course I will. It's beautiful. After all of that trouble, I wouldn't dare. All right, let's get this on first of all. This is the beauty of mise en place. Those have had 4 minutes underneath there. These require 4 minutes on the top, so you'd simply pop it on the top there, wind it up, make sure that there's a burst of steam that you'll get up and do the rest of it. It's all seasoned, ready to go. Now, let's have a look at this. Ooh, you lovely fellas. Look at that. See how beautiful. Oh, it's just wonderful, moist and just delicious. Well, delicious, we don't know yet, but moist. Look, it's just breaking apart with tenderness. Just take the individual pieces. Now, these were 6, 7 ounces. You're going to get a certain amount of vegetable up underneath there. Don't worry. Don't fiddle around with it. Just get it out. There, stick it all on a plate like that, and to retain the heat and the moisture and the delicacy, pop a lid over the top, all right? Just keep it in. Now, in here, we've got the debris which has been used, but it's really not debris, it's only 6 minutes, so the mushrooms are still nice and crisp. And into that, I want to put 2/3 of a cup, fluid ounces of a light dry wine, you know, like we used before, the dealkalized for me, and just put that on the heat. Now, with 2 teaspoonfuls only of arrowroot, and around about, well, just a slop, just a bit more than that of the liquid. Normally we add twice as much liquid as arrowroot. And put that on. Now bring this up to the boil. You see how it's just beginning to boil there? Always, again, remove it from the heat and just stir it in delicately. I don't want it to be a sludge, not at all. I want it to be lovely and lively, but I want it just to have enough glaze. So that goes back on the pan there. Great. Good. All right, now into this also we've got another teaspoonful of dill. Now I know I added a teaspoonful in the beginning, but a teaspoonful at this stage is really neat. And you know, the funny thing about it is that if you can add the fresh one at this level, of course you've got a brighter green color. The flavor will still be there with the dried, but it's just a little bit better. So that's coming on really well. All right, good. Now, this is just about ready. So we start to put together and build the process. Oh, hot plate, absolutely vital hot plate. Anything that is cold plate, hot plate, and try and make that as a sort of standard. This is a rather nice fishy plate. And take then the basic slosh out of the bottom and just lay that. Oh, here's an intriguing tip. If you're going to put anything on a plate, and you dribble the stuff all over the outside of the plate, then do this. Lift it up and carry it over with a plate like that, and then lay it on there. Then any drips you get here and not all over the plate. Good. And don't use it all, because you need a little bit on the top for presentation. Now, look at this beautiful fish here. Which one shall I take that looks the nicest for you? That looks like a nice one right in there in the middle. Come on out. There. Lay that on the top. Now please understand, fish, when it's perfectly cooked, is so wonderful that it should not be overdone ever. And just the 6 minutes will give you just the perfection, and then it just finishes off underneath the lid in that way. Then you can take, you see how you've now prepared this so that everything's coming down to the wire. You then take your beautiful pieces of zucchini. They're not yours, they're mine. It's funny how people use that expression in cooking. And there, and then just lift off the bottom. Just take that to the side, and there are the potatoes, all elegantly done. The whole thing being able to be achieved in 10 blissful minutes. Should we go and see what it tastes like? Come on. Oh, tell you what, oh, it's the first time I've ever done this. I forgot the paprika and a little bit of parsley. I was looking at it and I thought, that looks a little duller than it should. Oh, freshly chopped parsley and just a little touch of paprika over the top. Ah, and it comes to life. Wonderful. I'm going to compare this with a classic, which in this case is actually a halibut salad, and it's been cooked with a lot of oil in the classic. And there's a lot of oil cooking goes with this because plain fish is always regarded as being sort of very, very, very dry, and you need a lot of help, so people slosh a lot of oil in. Look at that. That's how much oil they sloshed in. 81 grams of oil. That's down to 5 in our case. 35 in carbohydrate, 12% in terms of fat, cholesterol down to only 36, and sodium at 384. Frankly, that is a great profile. Okay. Now, with lots of paprika and everything else, I do want to have a nosh at this. Look, you guys. Look, see how it glistens on the fork. Oh, Graham. Oh, that's perfect. The garnish just comes up, and every little part of that dish is perfectly. Zucchini are crisp. The paprika, I'm so glad I got that. Try it, won't you? It's great for springboarding, too. That is so nice. I mean, that is really nice. And the whole organization of the dish is very important. And look, the other day I went out to a restaurant, and I noticed on the restaurant menu there was a whole bunch of menu items, but this is just one of them. Baked halibut in sauce hollandaise with French fries, and it had a heart by the side of it. And alongside the heart, there was a sort of suggestion that I should look at the bottom of the page, which I did. And I went down to the bottom of the page, and it said, ask your server for healthy options. And I thought, that's odd. This didn't seem to me like it would be a healthy option, because by the time you've got a perfectly innocent piece of fish and put an egg and butter sauce over the top of it and French fries on the side, I wouldn't have thought that it would have been. So this very nice lady came across, and I said, can you please explain to me, I was trying to be charming, can you please explain to me what your healthy option is? I felt like she was going to say go out to a workout, instead of having lunch. But she says, oh yes, yeah, you take away the sauce hollandaise. As I said, she was a nice person. You take away sauce hollandaise and you take away the French fries. And I said, well, don't you add anything? Lemon, she says. And I just thought to myself, I thought that was hugely funny, and I laughed. And she was actually quite offended, I think. And I said, well, I wouldn't have thought that was a very attractive, healthy option. Yes, I mean, if all you're going to do is put items on your menu and then tell customers what you're going to take away from it, then don't you have the feeling as a customer, I don't know, I'm a customer most of the time, that you're having something withdrawn from you? You'd say, well, if you're going to take all that out, how much less is it going to cost? No, it's not a question of what you take out. If there's any kind of rule to this kind of cooking for you and I, it is not a question of subtraction. You don't subtract anything from that. Not subtract, but add. The big thing is what you can add to it. And this is what we've done with this dish here. We've added color to it by steaming it. We've added color in terms of the greenery, of the dill that's gone in there, of the wine that's gone in there. All of this compares with the other dish, which has got 1.25 cups of oil in it, for goodness sake. Now, oil will always, and salt and sugar will always be like blunt instruments around the back of the neck. You can whack with somebody one of those, say, yeah, it's greasy and it's fat and it's salty, and that's easy. But it's when you mingle these ingredients in, so much better in this case would have been to have an etouffee of a pan-steamed tranche of halibut, in this lovely dill and lemon sauce. Boy, that would turn me on. How about that for you? You can feel the lemon and you can feel the cayenne pepper, just enough of it like this, but it's the crisp freshness of it all which is so good. Try it with some friends. Until next time, God bless you. Bye.